It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin Nikki Free Thursday. Gary, how are you?
Good. I don't want to talk about that yet. I just want to play some audio cuts.
Let's do that.
All right. Let's just play some audio cuts.
All right.
This is sort of like the Friday show because we have the State of the Union tomorrow. So it's just sort of cleaning up everything from the week.
How'd you see the Babylon Bee? It's just going to be a dumpster on fire for 90 minutes.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yes, I did see that.
They worded it a lot funnier than I did. Oh, my gosh.
There were just audio cuts yesterday to show you the insanity of the left right now. We're gonna start with John Kerry.
All right.
Are you ready? Here's John Kerry talking about Russia. Here we go.
I believe that Russia has the ability to be able to make enormous changes if it really wanted to. I mean, if Russia has the ability to wage a war illegally and invade another country, they ought to be able to find the effort to be responsible in the climate issue.
That's the concern with Putin. He's not green. Oh, Gary, I guess I've been focused on the wrong thing. I'm thinking he wants to kill the entire planet, and John Kerry's saying he's killing the entire planet, but different methods of killing the entire planet.
You know, I used to say that the left have no critical thinking skills at all. Yeah. Because you have to be able to connect the dots and everything else, and you have to be able to prioritize if you're going to be a critical thinker. And they have none at all.
None.
And that's how I used to say it, and I think that's a nice way to say it. They lack critical thinking skills. The other way to say it is they're absolutely nuts. And let's play more.
All right.
This is from the CBS Late Show and Colbert.
All right.
And he's got a guy, so-called expert on AI, and discussing his new book, Unstoppable Us, Why the World Isn't Fair. So they get into talking about AI.
All right.
And just got to play this because Colbert, nuts. Here we go.
A lot of people are worried. I'm not that worried about AI. I just doesn't get my blood going to get worried about AI. I think of some positive aspects of it. I mean, I've seen how humans have handled history, and not great. And so I'm ready for the big machines that make big decisions, programmed by fellows with compassion and vision. I'm ready for the machines to tell us what to do. Mm-hmm. Are you?
Not really. It's extremely dangerous.
Why is it
to
dangerous,
give up
though?
Power to something we don't understand?
But they're just extensions of us. I mean,
no, they're not.
Yes, they are. We made them. They're us.
We made them, but now they become potentially independent of us. The one thing to know about AI, the most important thing to know about AI, it's the first technology in history that can make decisions by itself and can create new ideas by itself.
Okay. We don't need to go any further. It's just the fact that Colbert he's not joking.
No, that wasn't a bit you just heard.
Right. Absolute serious look on his face, talking that he's ready to be led by machines.
Right.
This is how insane the left is.
And further proof, I think we've done it a couple of times this week, and we'll add to the pile with this one. The left believes you're stupid. What Colbert was actually saying is, these idiots out here, they need to be told what to do.
Well, and the other thing is that when he makes the case that I've seen how humans handle history and not great. Well, for some humans, they haven't handled it great.
Right.
Other humans, look at the quality of life that we have and how the human race have tapped into technology, created the technology to get us to the point today. And this shows that Colbert is completely clueless.
And also defeated other humans that didn't get it right.
Right. Defeated the humans that didn't get it right. But when you look at where we have come over the last 150 years in this country and the world, the Western world that actually, has Western democracies or constitutional republics or whatever form they happen to have. I'm just always paying attention to those nitpickers. We're not a democracy. We know we're talking about under the umbrella of a democracy, not a direct democracy.
Our lawyers that listen to the show live make Gary say that every time.
No, they don't.
Because,
I know
because they're tired of going through the emails.
Yeah, I know. We have lawyers going through our emails. I didn't know that.
Oh crap! I wasn't supposed to say that on the air.
Well, if we do, we actually don't know about it.
Apparently, we're doing a good job because we've never heard from them.
Yeah. This isn't the View.
Lawyers running out onto the set. Stop! Give me the microphone. Lawyers commandeering the set on the View.
And I have to go back to the book that I read on the Lewis and Clark expedition that talked about the late 1700s and how and into the 1800s until we really got modern medicine. That the paranoia that existed in society of dying, young people dying. You broke a leg, you could die. You can
joke about a paper cut these days.
You couldn't
back then. You couldn't.
Nope. That there
an infection would kill you.
And in a labor-intensive society that everybody was at that point because we were still in a farming economy.
Yeah,
accidents happen all the time, and people died young all the time. This was interesting. I was reading I was watching. There's a thing on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a young man and his father, and they travel everywhere together.
Yeah,
and they were in Virginia, and they were looking at this historic cabin, and in the historic cabin, this woman that was there lived to 102 years old.
Wow,
which you sit there and go, wow, way
smoked
back
and drank whiskey every day.
Well, no, not the point in this case about her life, but the fact she delivered like thousands, and she was a midwife and delivered thousands and thousands of babies herself, 24 children. Every one of them died young.
Wow.
None of them made it past infancy.
Wow. Well, when I did my family tree, doing ancestry and everything and doing my family tree thing, it was really shocking how many young people, how many kids in the family along the way died.
Yeah.
And then you think about it and say, well, no, because there was great risk of anything. I mean, if you any cut, any injury whatsoever, and on top of that, you couldn't travel, even if you had someone who could treat it, traveling from where you were.
Right.
Now you look at modern highways, the interstate system, and everything we have to get there quickly.
Jets.
I mean,
when you
care flight.
Right. When you look at society today compared to 150 to 200 years ago, it is unbelievable what human beings have done. But that's liberalism at its finest. That living in the bubble of today, operating as Colbert is on complete ignorance. He has no idea what society used to be like, and saying that I'm ready to be led by machines because of how humans have handled history. Are you out of your freaking mind?
He also just made the case against himself and didn't realize it. Look at the elements he put into play. Just imagine if you're AI and you're staying up late to watch the Colbert show. He says, we programmed them, so we put in information. So they're saying, okay, yeah, we listen to humans. We're not good. Humans aren't good. We need to be told what to do. They need to be told what to do. They didn't get it right. Not only do they need to be told what to do, they need to be eliminated, and that's how you get to Arnold saying, come with me if you want to live. There's another thing. Here's a guy who's, all googly about Hollywood, and there was a basis to the Terminator. The concern over AI and whether one day robots, if we built robots, I mean, this goes back decades,
Mm-hmm.
but that was the idea. We've been thinking about this for a long time. You know, when the computer age came about, you know, remember when computers were the size of buildings? And it was like, okay, you know, here's what we can do. We can teach them what to do. And then all of a sudden Hollywood takes an idea, they run with it. And you've got Terminator 2, and however many they did. And you've got this idea. The basis of it is, all right, if they become self-aware, they start teaching themselves, they start learning, wait a minute, they're the enemy. The humans are actually creating the war or killing the planet or whatever input they get. Because the input they get, they just got from Stephen Colbert, and he didn't realize what he was saying.
That's a great point. Yep. And finally, well, I mean, not finally, just maybe for this segment.
We're going home.
For this segment. And it's funny because we mentioned yesterday Joe Scarborough, how I forgot the audio cut that we played. And it was just like, oh. It
was probably one pandering to Mika, but
it was one. It had to be one pandering to Mika because I know that's where I was headed. I do remember saying that he handed in his man card
and a couple of other things.
But this shows you either the gaslighting or the absolute delusion of the left.
Yeah.
All right, and how somebody remember Joe Scarborough. He used to represent as a Republican one of the most conservative districts in the United States, which is Matt Gaetz's district, where Navarre, Niceville, Valparaiso, Fort Walton Beach, Navarre, where I used to live. That's one of the most conservative districts in the United States.
Yeah,
I can still remember at the 2000. Republican convention, and I get there real early, and it's really early in the afternoon, and it's Joe Scarborough and his rock band playing. It was bad. It wasn't good at all.
Yeah, it's always bad.
But here he is talking about Joe Biden. Now, I was concerned because when you read the quote before I actually played it, it said where Scarborough says "F you," but he actually says "F you."
Oh,
he doesn't actually
say the
word.
letter. Okay.
Yes. So I wasn't sure about that. But here we go. As he talks about Joe Biden. Here we go.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years.
I need to kiss up to Mika. Let me hand in my man card.
My in-laws made me say this.
My in-laws made me say it.
I've been completely. Speaking of AI, he's been completely retrained. Wow, man! Talk about reprogramming.
I love when he uses the word cogent. Just so you know, when he talks about that, it's way beyond cogent. Joe Biden. Yeah. Just so everybody understands what the definition of cogent is.
Okay.
Clear, logical, and convincing.
I think that sums it up.
That's how that. Now, I don't know whether it's pure delusion from Joe Scarborough, whether when he got involved in the relationship and married Mika, he felt he had to submit to her politics.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is it's the most bizarre thing to see the evolution of him being I would say a moderate Republican to an absolute delusional. Because that's delusional.
Yeah. And it was sad. Here's a guy pretending to have a backbone, and you pretend to have a backbone by making that case for a guy like Biden?
This is where the gaslighting comes in. It's almost a dare.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you the truth now.
You can't handle it.
And
you can't handle it.
And F you can't handle it.
Yeah.
Because Biden is clear, convincing, concise, the most critical thinker, one of the most intelligent human beings ever in the history of the planet.
Yeah. Go sit back down, Joe.
Well,
Mika has your cocoa ready.
Remember, they tried to sell you that on Obama until you actually broke down what he thought on the issues, and you went, well, that guy's pretty stupid, actually.
Yeah, actually.
Well, Obama's not that smart.
Remember when they brought him in on the to be on the ticket in 2008 with Obama? What was the idea? His foreign relations experience. Well, now we know it was different types of foreign relations. But he's an expert on this. He's an expert. No, he's not. And we didn't buy into that then because we do something called paying attention. But they were, he's the guy. He's going to be, because it was an advisory role like Cheney was to Bush. Well, sorry. Biden's clueless. And so was Joe Scarborough.
Just amazing. So I had those, I was like, what do I do? I've got these 3 audio cuts. I'm just going to play them to start off the show.
Yeah.
Just play these things because it shows you where the Democrats are.
Yep.
Absolute insanity.
And as you point out, no critical thinking skills.
No.
None.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It's not always easy to spring back from the harsh days of winter to warmer months ahead. From de-icing chemicals to hidden debris underneath snow and ice, winter conditions can do serious damage to your truck. Here's a must-do maintenance check to help you minimize downtime and stay rolling. Have your batteries tested and inspect your electrical system for any exposed connections, wires, or butt connectors. Get any exposed components repaired immediately, as the acidic nature of highway de-icers will erode any exposed connections or wires in no time at all.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I love this one. An article in the San Francisco Chronicle declared the city, quote, can no longer be called a progressive city after the success of 2 law and order ballot measures on Tuesday. The Chronicle reporters wrote that with the city voting yes on ballot measures that will require drug screenings for potential welfare recipients and increased police powers in the city, progressive powers appear to no longer be popular with the residents because being a progressive means the criminal wins and the victims lose.
Yep.
Thank you, San Francisco Chronicle, for making that clear to us, that progressive policies are a crime-ridden, defecated-laden city.
Exactly. Unless Xi Jinping is in town. So here's the
yes. And then you gotta clean up all the.
I'm still convinced that they cleaned it up and put it in storage and then put it back on the streets when he left. I could be wrong about that. But think about this: the San Francisco Chronicle. This wasn't the mayor only. This wasn't a couple of city council members. This is the people voting on it.
Yep.
And the San Francisco Chronicle basically. Well, you guys aren't liberal enough anymore, readers, subscribers. Oh, wait.
Do you remember when in 2020 when Trump was running on Law and Order and the number of people that said we have, that's just horrible that people are running on Law and Order. Remember that?
Yeah.
Just terrible. That's one of the things. That's an authoritarian society when they want law and order.
Exactly. And now people are screaming for it.
I know.
Even on the left.
Soon, they'll be going into a deep dive. Make time. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. The show's interrupting our off-air discussion again.
We just keep talking, and they just shut our mics off. You guys hear commercials. We're doing a talk show off the air.
It just never
So,
stopped.
And here's the breakdown. You and I were talking about the Fani Willis case and what's going on, everything surrounding that case. And it's interesting dynamic with Super Tuesday, then the 9-0 decision in favor of Trump on the ballot thing for Colorado, Super Tuesday, which pretty much everybody predicted was going to happen. Nikki Haley dropping out yesterday, which pretty much everybody predicted was going to happen. And now, at some point, over either today or tomorrow or next week, because we were told it will be over the next 2 weeks, there will be a decision in the Fani Willis thing. So if that case implodes, you and I kind of lined this out and said, look, what happens is if I thought it was going to take until the summer, or maybe even, late summer, early fall kind of thing for these cases to start to implode. But it's quite possible if the Fani Willis thing implodes and no one picks it up, it's, she's off the case, and then they decide, they make a decision there that they're not going to pursue it any further. Then the next thing is, all the other cases against him, which we don't know how they're going to go. But we wondered last year, look at the cases against Trump and how it's setting up to, because if he's winning them or knocking them down one by one along the way in 2024, that is momentum for him. Now, some would argue, in fact, I think maybe we've made the point, the cases against him actually work for him. Actually, he's argued that. Showing up in court actually works for him. And we're seeing, at least starting in February, we're starting to see the rise in the polls for Donald Trump. And we'll see in November how it all pans out. But it is the most interesting dynamic ever in American politics playing out right now. You essentially have two incumbents, two men who have both been president that are running for president. And one of them is having the entire world legally, basically, not hyperbole, thrown at him. And has been, by the way, since the beginning, going back to the Russian collusion hoax. And if all those dominoes fall, that is going to be, I don't even know, I won't even know what to do.
Well, when you have, it was interesting because yesterday when I saw, the Fani Willis thing, so I turned it on and I went, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, because Super Tuesday and everything else, and I'm like, what? Why is Merchant, the defense lawyer who's going after Willis? Well, actually, she would be the one actually prosecuting at this point.
Well,
sort of reverse,
kinda.
But
gotta hate when that happens.
She's being questioned. I'm like, who are these people questioning her? What is going on here with it? And I realized, no. This is the Georgia legislature trying to find out what's going on now.
Yeah,
and
right,
so she was asking, questions, and the Democrats really didn't have much back.
Right.
They were saying, well, is a vacation really a benefit, and can you really? But when she was talking about the timeline of Fani Willis going to the White House, like, whoa, that's being brought back. That's being brought back again. You're just like, whoa. But as Jonathan Turley pointed out yesterday, he said she and her lead prosecutor are not just accused of having an intimate relationship, but they are accused of some type or some of the same underlying conduct that they are prosecuting in the election interference case against former Donald Trump and other defendants. That now includes allegations of filing false statements with courts and even influencing witnesses. And when you influence witnesses, what is that also called? Obstruction of justice.
Yep.
This week, another witness came forward with another explosive new allegation against Willis. In the prior hearings in Atlanta, Nathan Wade was confronted with what appears to be false statements made to the course in his divorce case, false statements that he repeated under oath in disqualification testimony. For example, Wade was asked about his denial of a sexual relationship during the time of his marriage and separation up to and including May 30th, 2023. That would obviously include the sexual relationship with Willis in 2022 and possibly earlier. Wade, however, denied any such sexual relationship and said he confined the question to sexual relations, meaning an affair in the course of my marriage. Of course, his marriage was ongoing even during the divorce, and the question asked about any relationship up to May of 2023. Wade and Willis have also been contradicted in their testimony by various witnesses who said they lied about their intimate relationship starting after he was hired in 2022. That included prior text messages in which Wade's former partner and lawyer, Terrence Bradley, repeatedly told opposing counsel that he was absolutely sure that the relationship began much earlier. A former close friend of Willis also said they were lying. This is notable because Wade and Willis brought 19 individual counts of false statements, false filings, or perjury against defendants in their case. There are now substantial allegations that they may have committed the very same criminal conduct. Now another prosecutor has come forward to say that Bradley also told her repeatedly and with complete clarity and certainty that Wade and Willis were involved long before his hiring. Those conversations allegedly occurred as late as January of this year with Cindy Lee Yeager, the co-chief deputy district attorney for Cobb County. So you're not just talking about somebody off the street. You're talking about somebody who is a co-chief deputy district attorney for Cobb County in Georgia.
Who could risk everything by lying about it.
What is even more alarming is Yeager's account that she overheard Willis tell Bradley on the telephone that they are coming after us. You don't need to talk about them or anything about us. If true, that could raise questions of influencing potential witnesses. Willis can legitimately point out that the calls was allegedly in September of 2023 before Bradley was called as a witness and current proceedings had started. However, it would indicate that Willis was aware that Bradley would be asked questions about past payments and relationships with him and his partner, Wade. If that seems loose, you should take a look at the case Willis brought against these defendants. Many of us have been critical of the overarching racketeering conspiracy alleged by Willis among the 18 defendants. The false statement charges often dismiss plausible alternative interpretations of the evidence of intent. But they are also prosecuting the attempt to influence witnesses. The question is whether Willis or Wade had other communications indirectly or directly with Bradley. His testimony was widely panned, and he showed all of the spontaneity for comfort of a hostage video. Willis is a powerful figure in Atlanta, and Bradley did everything short of taking or faking his death to avoid assisting in her disqualification. The odds are that the judge is not inclined to hold additional hearings, that he is ready to rule. It's hard to imagine that these two prosecutors continuing with so many allegations hanging over them in the case. They have placed their personal interests before their office and their case. However, the standard for disqualification is murky.
Yeah.
Well, if the judge says they stay, you may have done Trump even more of a favor.
That's a great point. I hadn't considered that option or that, which we always kind of break it down and go all the way with one direction or the other. All right, if it happens this way, I hadn't considered the if the judge says, okay, no problem. You're going, with the poll numbers that are right now, since the beginning of February with Trump going up and up and up, the one poll that we brought a couple of weeks ago where Trump actually, if he was prosecuted on and convicted on the January 6th thing, He actually gained a couple of points in that same poll. If you think about that dynamic, then break it down also with the case. The case itself, you're setting up a walk when it comes to the appeal.
Because, see, this is not a trial going on.
No.
So, but if, they prosecute this for RICO, which there is no RICO case.
Right,
if they
right.
prosecute it for RICO, it's because they've got a jury who doesn't care about the truth. You can't.
Right.
This is not a RICO case because RICO case, you have got the organization you're going after, the enterprise, has to be a criminal organization.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that if you're an organization that commits a crime, that you're a criminal organization. If somebody commits a crime, it's that the organization exists only to commit crimes, and you can't make that case with the Trump campaign.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the reason that was organized. And so if somebody inside of a campaign can commit wrongdoing, we've seen it with the Hillary campaign. Remember, the whole Hillary thing. Remember when Trump came after and said, look, I want to file a RICO civil suit because this was an enterprise that was set up to destroy me. And the judge threw it out saying, basically, it's not a criminal enterprise. There may have been crimes committed.
Right.
Civil crimes, because this was in civil court. Civil crimes committed here. But the fact is they're a political party, not a criminal enterprise. They're not the mob. They were The mob is set up only for one reason and one reason only. There is no other thing that a mob is set up for except to make money illegally.
Right.
Campaign has a ton of different other things why they exist, mostly to raise money and get their candidate elected. So if somebody breaks the law in that campaign, it doesn't make the campaign a criminal enterprise.
Yeah, and if he were convicted on RICO, then you could apply this. How many different corporations, organizations?
Oh, my God. Well,
where if anybody in that company did something wrong or that organization did something wrong, boom, RICO.
Well, this judge, if he's not going to hear the additional testimony from the new witness out there and he doesn't disqualify her, appeal big time.
Oh, yeah. That's it's just it will be. I think the appeal would be
right.
I think he's going to win the appeal in New York, and if he's convicted here in Georgia, I think the appeal he would win
because this isn't a trial.
Nope,
it's a disqualification hearing, and so
for Fani Willis.
Right? So the appeals, if Trump was found guilty of the RICO charges, you immediately refile and say, look. Number one, you file because you're not a criminal enterprise, and I believe you would win in
just
the,
based
in the
on
federal
that.
in the federal appeals court on it.
Yeah.
But also you go after the judge if he rules for Fani Willis that she's not disqualified and said he wouldn't even hear all the evidence that existed.
Right.
And it's not like, well, this is a court case and the evidence is closed at this point.
Right.
It's not the same thing. It's not. Right. It's not a trial. It's a disqualification.
Yeah,
hearing.
there's lots of room for reconsideration at the appellate level on those items. So, as you point out, it could well, if she stays on it, if the court decides she stays on it, it could well help Trump.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. By the way, Turley also said in another article that he wrote yesterday, or maybe it was on Twitter, which would be another article, exactly what we've said. He said, I really can't believe that they haven't voluntarily stepped down.
I
said,
wondered about
let's
that.
get rid of this. Let's get out of this because
okay, the first week or two, remember, she didn't say anything. Fani Willis didn't respond, for a couple of days. It was that following weekend, actually. It was 4 or 5 days. And then what she did say was, well, they're all just going at me because they're racist. And it's like, okay, that's kind of typical. But she didn't really step to the podium and defend herself like I would have if it were not true. You and I have talked about that. So then time went on, and it was like, okay, the evidence kept coming. It was like, oof, you're not going to get beyond this. And we said, wow, why don't you just, because if you believe, if your mission statement ultimately is to, get Trump, which it is, then you would want to pass that baton, that case, protect the integrity of the case, hoping that the next person that takes it is going to be successful and convict Trump. And it's shocking that didn't happen. But
you know how Democrats know this is a problem? You don't hear anyone defending Fani Willis.
No, it's a great point.
Not even Democrats.
There are no defenders.
Nope.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hi.
Oh, we're just so bright and cheery in the middle of the night, aren't we?
We are. Look, it's just a beautiful day. The sun is shining. We're doomed.
Oh, yeah, we're doomed.
Yeah.
All right, couple of audio cuts.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe it's Audio Cut Thursday. Just so much going on.
Audio Cut Thursday.
We talked about Fani Willis, and then we talked about the defense lawyer Merchant, who went before the state legislative committee that's looking at the whole Fani Willis thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the part where she was, talking about the White House.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There's one of the other things I did was I did open records for the White House access, and we had records that Ms. Willis and the mayor of Atlanta were at meeting with the vice president.
Okay, and so this is the access history. How does that work? The White House keeps records of anybody that comes in and has any kind of official meeting for sure?
Yes, and my understanding is it's highly regulated who can access the White House, and so you have to apply in person or apply ahead of time, and then they give you a time when you make the appointment, and they give you a time when you're allowed to be in and when you have to be out by, and they track you. And I mean, that makes sense. They don't want anybody lingering in the White House, but they keep that. And so they're called WAVE records, I believe is what they're called, and I'm not sure what that's an acronym for, but they're publicly available. They're open records.
And this record that's shown on the screen shows Fani Willis was a visitor with V. POTUS. I presume that's Vice President of the United States?
Yes, it was.
And what was the date of that back in, was that February sometime of 23?
February 28, 2023.
Is that before the indictment?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what they're, again, they're asking the questions there, but this all sets up, again, the perception of a conflict of interest and the perception that the White House is directing so much of this. And that's not good. But I wanted to play that because we were talking about the whole Fani Willis thing. I also wanted to play this here because this is ABC with the DNC chair yesterday. And it just shows you where the media is now. Because you had Karine Jean-Pierre out there yesterday saying he can't do anything about it. He can't, after they floated the executive order thing, now they're backing off on that big time. And Karine Jean-Pierre did yesterday that, there's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do. Mm-hmm. This has to be Congress. This has to be Congress. After they floated, again, that trial balloon with all the liberal media that Biden may put in an executive order that will stop this flow at the border, and then claim in his State of the Union address that he's willing to do something about it, and the Republicans aren't.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Well, as of yesterday, she said, that wasn't possible, Didn't say he wouldn't bring it up in the State of the Union. Who knows what he might bring up.
Yeah.
But this is ABC, and this is interesting because listen to what ABC is saying. Here we go.
But the president could take executive action and do something at the border now.
That's the pause. That's the actual pause. And he says the president will make a determination on what he can do and when he can do it. But now across the media, the mainstream media, now nobody is buying into the fact that Biden is helpless here except the White House. So now the liberal media, the conservative media, the good media, Red Eye Radio, everybody is saying the exact same thing. No, the president has options here. And the White House is going, he has no options. He has no options.
Right.
That's why when it came out, when it was the other thing that was floated, and I think it was a trial balloon also, when it came out earlier this week that, they're going to let Biden be Biden. And we talked about this. And Biden's going to come out and he's going to attack Trump because he knows if he attacks Trump, he believes if he attacks Trump, then Trump will just go crazy, and that's how he wins. And we're like,
yeah, good luck with that.
What are you talking about? He won't even answer any questions. And then I think 1 day after that was when Biden said, I can't take any questions. I'll get into trouble. And then he puts the microphone down and just sits there and stares. Yeah. And it's horrible. And it's like, really?
Yeah, it's Joe Biden and Joe Scarborough. Neither of them are allowed to talk unless they're given permission.
And then I have to play this.
All right.
And please, don't get angry at me because I'm playing it. That's why. It's on my computer.
Yeah, it's true.
We're playing it because, it's our show.
Okay, fine. I'll jump in.
So
we're not pushing the button
But please, don't turn off the radio when you hear this voice.
All
right?
Okay.
We haven't played this voice in a while.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And here it says that this person is cackling.
Okay.
All right.
Good. I always enjoy that.
Here we go. You'll probably recognize the voice. Here it is.
Somebody the other day said to me, Zerlina, well, but Joe Biden's old. I said, you know what? Joe Biden is old. Let's go ahead and accept the reality. Joe Biden is old. So really, pick between your two old ones and figure out how you're going to save our democracy.
Oh man!
So now
doesn't she have a new conspiracy collusion hoax to be doing right now? Isn't she supposed to be busy? Trump's running again, Hillary. You're supposed to be setting him up. This is, by the way, that's not the same cut from last week?
I didn't know there was a cut from last week.
Yeah, where she came out and said, he's old. And I don't think it is, because that one, she said, he's old, and it is an issue. But I think she went on to, and I think conservative media jumped on it based on those words, and she went on to say, and maybe this was her walking that back, by the way. I don't know. The fact of the matter is, it's not just that he's old. He's an old 81, or however old he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's old for his age. He looks like he's probably 12 to 15 years older than he actually is. Trump is young for his age.
Yes.
And by that, I mean his presence in any room hasn't changed much. Now, you could probably show me a video from over the 40 years of, see where he's slowed down or whatever. It is nothing like Biden. I was watching it the other day, the video from the border where he's walking, and the photo op where he's with the border chief, and the way that his feet move.
Shuffle.
And they're shuffling, but also when he's not shuffling, it's a deliberate picking up of each leg and then putting it down. When we walk heel to toe. He's walking completely flat, and he's moving his legs in a deliberate way that I think probably indicates he's had some kind of rehabilitation training to not do that, not shuffle, rather. And that's a problem. Look, for any of us as we get older, walking becomes more of a problem. The point is, this is very clear that something is going on. With cognitive issues, you often see the physical manifestations as well, and they do go hand in hand. And what you're seeing right now is ridiculous by anyone on the left, saying, Joe Scarborough, he's going to carry the flag. Did you hear how proud he was of himself in that clip? We're going to have to play that again later for anybody who didn't hear it. But it could be our cut of the week, even. This is what people see. They're trying to tell you you don't see what you see. We all see it.
I can play it again.
Well, let's do it now.
I mean, an hour has gone by since I played it.
That's right. Remember when we used to play records? We had, what was the separation? It was on a hit record every 2 hours and 15 minutes or something.
Something like,
it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible if you worked that job.
Yeah.
Did a 4 or 5 hour shift.
Yeah, it was actually,
Especially if you start your show with a song, you're probably going to play it a total of 3 times if you do a 4 or 5 hour radio show in music radio.
Yeah, you'll play it a bunch of times.
Yes.
Which is why, still today, if I ever hear that song, Bluer Than Blue by Michael Johnson.
Oh, my gosh.
I could kill somebody.
I think evil things.
I realize, because people always ask, well, do you have the potential to kill somebody? And the two things with me, which say, I don't think so, but I could, would be Michael Johnson's Bluer Than Blue. And, well, no, because I have conquered the rage of a serial killer directed at myself when I can't hit that ball with a stick.
Yeah, right. Well, see, imagine.
By the way, when I say that to people that don't know me and never heard me say it on the air, they get the biggest kick out of it. They go, wow, that's great. Yeah, I've been that rage. Every golfer understands it.
Yeah.
That rage when I know it. And you're wondering whether you're having some mental problems because the rage is so great. I go, oh, you've had it too.
Yeah.
Most golfers have.
I mean, I'm not even a golfer, and you see every once in a while people commenting on it or a video of someone, breaking a club or whatever. Have you ever gotten to that point where you slam a club and you break it because you're not happy with your shot?
See, I can't lie here because I never know if my buddy Jim is listening.
That's why you can't lie.
And
if we knew for sure Jim was not listening.
Yeah, if I knew that for sure Jim wasn't listening,
you could say no.
But Jim once, this goes back a long time ago, but when Jim once said to me that, and he was in Vietnam, and I threw a club one time, and it went in the air like, whoop, 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 whoop. And he said, wow, I flashed back to Vietnam and the helicopter blades.
Wow. Because you threw it so hard.
Yeah, and it was like spinning through the air.
Made that sound.
Yeah, I broke a club slamming it into the ground. I threw one that brought back flashback memories of Vietnam for Jim. And then I threw my whole golf bag one time like 20 feet.
The whole thing?
Whole thing. Picked it up and threw it, yeah.
Okay.
I
not just one club,
the
whole set.
My friend Brandy in Buffalo, she used to cut hair, and she used to cut my hair. And I went to get my hair cut. I was visiting Buffalo one time, and she was like, yeah, she said, I was talking to this guy. She said, how's your golf game? I said, just horrible. Because she would said, hey, I want to go out golfing with, if it's a par 3, a short course, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's go golfing. And so I was on vacation, and I said, I'll get their haircut. She says, yeah, a guy was in here yesterday telling me about this idiot that he was playing with over at Sheridan Park Golf Course. This guy he just wouldn't talk. He was full of rage and everything else. Oh, my gosh. What's his name? So I go, oh, that was me. But I've completely conquered that. You see me people see me in the golf course today who played with me 20, 25, 30 years ago, and they're like, "Who are you?" It's like,
yeah.
And it really, I mean, I don't try to hide it. I actually quit golf I quit the golf club. I didn't golf. Well, I golfed occasionally. You know, I'd hit golf balls and stuff like that, but I didn't golf regularly for probably 6-7 years. And when I came back, I said, look, enjoy the game. And now I enjoy it, and I play just as good as I did back then.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm getting ready to hit clubs. The knee, I've tested it out. I mean, I've worked out like a fiend, and that knee's holding up completely with no pain at all. None. So probably next week, I'll start hitting golf balls again.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, you have to post some things on X, some videos.
But, how do we get into the rage thing?
Well, we were...
How do we get into talking about my rage?
We're going to replay the...
The
audio from Joe, and we said, look, there's some separation, and I likened it to separation of hit songs on Top 40 radio back when we did it.
And then I got into Michael Johnson, Bluer Than Blue, yes, and the rage.
Golf,
okay, all right. At least I know how we got there. You connected the dots to how we got there.
And to be clear, just in case you're wondering, you don't have to pay extra for this session. So,
well, there was some logic to that.
Yeah, I think we've made progress.
Here's a Scarborough thing quickly here from yesterday.
Yeah.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is... And I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Ooh.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
We'll be back with some commentary.
Yeah, we will.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
After fuel, an owner-operator's second biggest variable cost is tires. To save, get as much life out of them as possible with good habits. Maintain proper inflation. It's free and easy, yet it's the highest saving maintenance you can perform on the truck. Improper inflation is by far the greatest reason tires fail early. Perform routine maintenance. If a technician can by hand initiate irregular movements in tie rod ends, kingpins, wheel bearings, and torque rods, that spells trouble. Fight irregular wear by replacing suspension components. On the steer axle, change your shocks at least as often as you change your tires. On the drive axle, replace shocks halfway through the tire's life, and when the tires are changed too. Finally, employ good driving habits. You have full control here. More conservative driving over rough surfaces helps reduce wear. Speeding, hard braking, curbing, and tight turns cause tires to wear fast. On the other hand, steady acceleration, braking, and steering can extend the life, saving a bundle. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section on the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
By the way, I think we caused this. I just noticed on X that Joe Scarborough is trending.
Well, the thing is, he put out a dare.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is one Republican operative or conservative person on X that didn't post that today.
Right, yeah.
And that's the thing with Scarborough is talking like, well, let's F you if you don't like this.
Yeah, right.
And because I'm going to tell you the truth, as if conservatives would back off. Oh, no, Joe's telling us the truth, and we can't handle the truth. And Republicans took that and just went absolutely that thing went viral all over the place.
Yes.
So Scarborough thinks, I'm going to show them, and they're going to be afraid. They're going to be afraid to confront this analysis. And Republicans went hog wild on it.
Oh, he was so proud of it. You could hear him in his voice. F you if you can't handle the truth.
What kind of delusional mind to not face the truth do you have to say something like that?
I don't know.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Scarborough. Wow.
I know. It's just...
He was really proud of himself in
I know
moment.
that's the thing that gets you is he actually thinks that people are going to buy into it. And remember, the whole thing with Scarborough doing it, remember, what is the percentage of Democrats that don't want him to run? Isn't it like 75% of Democrats don't want him to run?
Right. Yeah.
So everybody knows that he's gaslighting, but they do it anyway. And they think that if they sort of dare you and gaslight, oh, wow. Well, no, he said, F you, and here I go, and see if you can handle this, as if the opposition's going to back off when everyone knows, even the vast majority of people that support his politics knows that he's gaslighting. That's the thing that gets to me is what is it like in your mind, in the media, to get to that point? You and I have been working together. It'll be 19 years this July.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that we get along is not that we agree on topics, because when we met, we didn't know. And I don't think either of us has ever changed our opinion. So you've never changed your opinion. So, well, Gary will like me more if I have a different opinion. No. But even if you do have a different opinion, I know how you got there and the logic behind it. And you know the same way with me. And my late Uncle Norm said that. My late Uncle Norm was more liberal. Right, but he used to listen to my show all the time, and that was the thing. And I'm glad before he passed away, it was a couple of years before he passed away, he said that to me. He said, look, I listen to you every day. And it's funny because whenever we have a family reunion, his daughters, my cousins, will tell me, oh, he listened to you all the time. He was so proud. Yeah. Well, I didn't, and so I normally didn't see the proud part of it. It would be like, hey, I heard you talking about that the other day and whatever. And but he told me, he said, I listen to you all the time, and I like the show. I disagree with you at times on certain items. I don't want to get into where I disagree with you, but the thing about you is when you say what you believe, you get into the specific details of what led you to that belief. You back it up. And at the end of it, I do question, have I thought my opinion out as well as he has? And I told him, I said, well, you don't have to go any further. That's the greatest compliment that you could give me. Not you don't have to say you agree with me or I changed your mind. Right. It's that I made you think.
And several years ago, my daughter was sitting in class in college. And she didn't go to college right out of high school. But when she went to college, she stayed with it. She got everything done. She's sitting at this university, and this professor, who my daughter didn't describe as a conservative, just brought it up. Hey, you should probably check out these two guys on the radio. They're on in the middle of the night, but you can listen to recordings of their show. You can listen to their show the next day on their website. And you need to listen. You may not agree with them. You need to listen to how they debate. And you'll know why they got to that point. My daughter did not want to bring it up that was one of the guys she was talking about was her dad.
I love this story.
And so this is the thing. And she was married, so her name was different, last name was different. And so she didn't bring it up. They took their finals, and she said, I'm going to wait until we're done. I'm done with the class. Didn't want to bring it up at all. She goes up, and she's done with the finals, done with the class, and tells the professor, remember that time you talked about those two guys on the radio? Yeah. Yeah, did you check them out? She goes, well, yeah, I know one of them. He's my father. And the professor went, huh. And that was it. It was like so underwhelming. But I was proud in that moment of, and you and I have talked about this, what you see from Scarborough is this weird grandstanding in a way that, honestly, he's a liberal. A liberal mind does this, and you need to listen. If you can't handle the truth, F you, blah, blah, blah. By the way, that's both gaslighting and virtue signaling all in one. And you and I don't have that. We'll joke. We have plenty of jokes, to break things down. But when we give you our opinion on something or break something down, you'll see why we believe what we believe. Joe Scarborough, Freudian slip, didn't break it down. What he was telling his audience, remember it's MSNBC, is you guys are a bunch of idiots. I know you don't know what you don't know what you're seeing every day when you see him on television, when you see him in the media. You have no idea what you're seeing. Let me school you on something. It was weak because I have no idea what's going on with Joe Biden. I can tell you what I see. I can tell you, we mentioned how he walks. We can mention, the Shane Gillis, the comedian that made the joke that every time Biden speaks, he turns around and turns into a Roomba. He just kind of wanders aimlessly. We all see it. So don't tell me I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing. In fact, there's one way to shut me up for good. Have the president do a cognitive test. But that's not going to happen. And it's also not going to happen through Joe Scarborough telling me the so-called truth. Because the actual truth, Joe, is that the overwhelming majority of people on your side don't want him to run again. That is the cold, hard truth. And I don't care whether you believe it or not. The truth doesn't care whether you believe it. It doesn't care whether you can handle it. The truth is the truth, and you can't change it.
Well, and that's when I was starting in that direction, the same path, is that there's only one way we know how to do a show. And I've done the show the same way that I've always done it since I started day one. I'm going to tell you what I think.
Right.
I'm not going to play tribal because if the party that I vote with starts spewing out BS, or the candidate I like starts, spewing out BS, we'll call them on it.
Yep.
And I will say this, there are a lot of conservative talk show hosts and pundits that won't do that. Mm-hmm. They won't be blunt. I was reading yesterday the talk show host, Eric Erickson. You know who he is.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say about Eric, he does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure I disagree with him on some issues, and he would disagree with me and you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see and I've seen what he writes more than I've heard him on the radio.
Right, on social media.
On social media. But on social media, he's telling you what he thinks, and he tells you why.
Right.
And he'll criticize Trump like we'll criticize Trump. I mean, the thing is, remember a couple of years ago where I said, look, Trump's got to stop the lies, and a woman called up and she said, Trump has never lied once.
Yeah.
Well, that's a kind of delusion that the Republicans don't need to have.
Right. The left has that. We don't need to do that.
Right. You don't need to do that. I can criticize. Look, I voted for Trump in the primary the other day. Do I wish that I had another choice? Yeah. I don't get to make that call.
Right.
And so I'll vote for the person who I believe will send the country in a better direction. Is Trump flawed? Yeah. And guess what? So's Eric Harley.
Hey, how dare you?
I was going to say so's Gary McNamara, and I go, why should I say that?
It's so much easier to just lob it across over to me.
Just throw it at you. Guess what? I'm flawed too. We're all flawed. We're human beings.
You know, the problem with you saying that is I can't handle the truth. Not that truth.
But there's only one way I know how to do a show, and I've always done it that way.
Yeah.
And so when I see Scarborough doing something like that, it's like he knows. Joe Scarborough was a Republican congressman from one of the most conservative districts and beautiful districts because of Navarre and Fort Walton Beach and the beautiful white sand there. In the entire United States. He knows he's gaslighting.
Right.
He knows he's BSing.
Right.
Yet he does it anyway. And then he takes the gaslight. It's more of a performance for him than it is really in any way explaining what reality is or observing what reality is.
Okay. So I have to bring this up. A listener writes this and says, I was disappointed, basically saying, I was disappointed when you guys started the show yesterday talking about what Trump said about the stock market and it going up because of him. And then you said, prove him wrong. And then blah, 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 blah. And, it's, hold on a second. If you didn't listen, and then he admitted he didn't listen later, and he says, if you corrected that or whatever later, then okay, so be it. Here's the thing. You have, number one, it is required. I think it's law now. You have to listen to Red Eye Radio, the entire show, all 5 hours of the entire podcast. I'm pretty sure it's the law. When we broke that down, it's pretty simple. It was because the media is quick to jump on things. Of course, we know. In fact, we went on to say, and the person who wrote the email probably didn't hear it, that, if it were the sentiment, and we point out how the market, the investors, the market itself collectively is often drunk, and sometimes they'll sober up the next day or whatever. That wasn't our point. The point of saying prove him wrong was, because we both kind of laughed that he was already taking credit for the stock market improving, and he's not yet back in office. Right? That was kind of amusing to us.
But I said it. I'll tell you what I meant.
Good. Go ahead.
Because I said it. I said,
right.
And if you heard it, you go back. I'm chuckling the whole time.
It's
because
when we're yes,
right. Because I was not saying I agree with Trump.
Right.
What I was saying as a political point is the rhetoric that he was stating. On the politics,
it's not provable.
It's right. Is not
one way or the other.
Right. It's not provable.
Exactly.
Either way. In the table of ideas and discussing it back and forth,
he grabbed something that nobody could prove or disprove, and he was using it in a friendly, obviously in a friendly room, and that was our joke.
Well, no,
that was our point.
And I think you made the point because we were you also made the point. You said, well, the day that he said that, the stock market went down 1 percentage points. Is he going to take credit for that?
Well, the Dow was down just over a full point, and the NASDAQ was down 1.65 for that day, and that had already happened hours before he said that. And it was like, if you're saying that there's this trend here, this is maybe not a good day. But that's the whole point.
Well, I got last week an email, and this is why we say the majority of complaints we get are basically people
things we didn't say,
either things we didn't say,
or they didn't understand the point.
They didn't understand, or they didn't understand the context, and we're very willing to tell you the context. Behind it. But the most people get our sarcasm, and when if I say something and you hear,
yeah,
that's sort of the clue
because
that I'm not being serious on it. But I was making a political point. I was making a political rhetoric point, is what I was making.
Exactly.
In it that you
because he used something that is, again, it's not, it can't be proven or disproven.
Right.
And so he uses that in a moment, and also that it was very Trump-esque.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
And, and then I went on to say, well, if the market sobers up and realizes the rest of the Republican Party's not going to get in line and do what we need to do on fiscal matters, then maybe the Dow won't keep going up or something like that. It was just
very quick. We got email a couple weeks ago where a guy was saying, you guys never disagree with Trump. I thought you guys were better and critical thinkers of that.
You're clearly not listening.
I wrote back to him and I just said, I don't know what to say because we've never done that.
You're not listening.
So thanks for listening, but I don't know who you're listening to.
Again, it's the law. Yep. You got to listen to the entire show.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning. So,
yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, that's but the interesting thing is, I told you during the break, I went, wow, how things have changed. We're getting emails now. We didn't get a lot of them in 2020 or 2016 from Republicans criticizing us.
Yeah, right.
Mistakenly for opinions we don't hold that they view as pro-Trump.
Right.
It
was usually the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's like, oh, okay, here we go now in a different direction.
Sure.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning, and thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I see Tim Allen's getting a new series.
I did not see that.
Yeah, ABC, Disney.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There was also talk about a new Toy Story animation. Remember they did the live-action Buzz Lightyear thing that was like, but there was talk about a new Toy Story animation movie. I don't know if that's going to happen or if that was just talk. So ABC...
shifting gears.
Mm-hmm.
He will be an owner of a car restoration shop. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Who is widowed, and his estranged daughter and the teenage grandchildren move in with him.
Okay. Some generational gaps, that will, of course, be funny to deal with along the way.
Everybody, I used to do it on the show kidding around. I would have Gary's 3-year-old movie review. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I would do that once in a while because I just don't see much. And sort of the same for TV. I end up seeing so many TV shows when the reruns hit.
Yeah.
For example, I never saw, this goes all the way back to when I was in college, I never saw Rockford Files until the mid-'80s. And it had been off the air for 5 or 6 years, and it was because it's actually talking about Joe Scarborough. I was living in Navarre, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And I would get home from work every day at 11:30 in the morning because I did the morning show. And at 12 o'clock, there would be Rockford Files on. That's when I would watch it.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I remember Rockford Files. I thought it was an accounting show. Files? I really did. I was like, is that an accounting show?
Okay, yeah.
And I thought the music was weird, the opening. It's like it was one of the best detective shows ever.
I loved it.
What a great show.
My dad watched it first run, so I watched it first run.
Was there ever a greater character, or you could actually say, hey, in a perverted way, a sidekick of a detective than Angel?
Never. I loved it.
Oh,
a little bit of comic relief. James Garner every once in a while was comic relief. I mean, he had a good. The character had a good sense of humor or grasp.
Well, the character was flawed.
Yeah, deeply flawed.
You know, the character was, his, and he said it. The character of Jim Rockford was flawed. So there's been so many, and Last Man Standing was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only been over the last couple of years where I've been able to watch episodes. That show was written so incredibly well, because it was basically a family sitcom, and and it's I don't care about family sitcoms,
right?
The back and forth, and it was, the premise was that he was a conservative, but they brought every single point of view in, and I think one of the best. This is when I said, okay, I've got to watch it, and it's when his wife was talking, and so this would have been back in 2016,
right?
That campaign, where she was telling her daughters, she was telling the younger daughter, who's actually went to the the character went to the Air Force Academy, was in ROTC and everything else. She was telling her youngest daughter that she needs to vote for Hillary because we need a woman, we need a woman, we need a woman, we need a woman, we need a woman. So the neighbor next door, Chuck, comes over. Now Chuck is black. And so in the series, they always talk about, Chuck and his wife talk about how, you ever notice when we go over to Tim Allen's house, his wife always tells us she's discovered a new black entertainer or black, whatever. And I mean, the way they played the teasing about race back and forth, it must have driven the left crazy, but it's actually how real people deal with each other.
Right, yeah.
The thing I loved about Last Man Standing is the teasing and the sarcasm between everybody. And I went, that's real life. That's how real people talk.
Because it's disarming. It's fun. It's also relatable. You can have these discussions, and they don't have to be heated at all.
No, it's the teasing back and forth. Yeah. And sometimes you would expect, they're going into territory where one of them's going to fight. Yeah. No, the other one just throws a shot back.
Right.
And I went, that's real life. But it was when she was, you got to vote for Hillary, you got to vote for Hillary. And she was really, the wife was really, really upset.
Played by Nancy Travis.
Oh, she's one. Nancy Travis from? So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. Remember?
Yes, she was the bride, yes.
Exactly.
The alleged axe murderer.
The butcher.
The butcher. And the pentaveret.
Exactly.
And the cardinal with his wee bitty eyes.
And she was also on, I've also been watching lately, and this was, it's been off the air for, 20 years almost.
I Love Lucy?
No, Becker was Becker was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Ted Danson, you think that somebody it's like, okay, you're typecast here. Hey, I love it. And I think I said it on the air a couple of weeks ago when I was watching an episode. I said, that Ted Danson and that character really is where America is today. You're just angry about there are people that are just angry about everything, and he's angry about everything, and she's on that. She was in the last couple of years of that show.
Yeah.
But in this episode of Last Man Standing is when, she's telling her daughter, you got to vote. We've got to have a woman. We've got to have a woman. So Chuck comes over again, Chuck, the neighbor who's black, and she said, I'm telling her that she needs to vote for a woman. She needs to vote for a woman. Well, you know what I mean, Chuck. And he goes, what are you talking about? Well, but she can't say.
She can't say.
She can't say you voted for Obama because you're black and he's black.
Right.
And I'm like, I watch this go, where is this going to go?
Wow.
I mean, where are the writers going to go on this? Because you and I, a lot of people do the same thing. What's the next step? What's this going to be?
Yeah, right.
And that's what makes it fun because, you're saying to yourself, well, it's Tim Allen's show. They got to get out of this in a way that isn't offensive in some way.
Right.
And so he looks and goes, what do you mean? You mean because he's black and I'm black? And she goes, well. And he goes, you think I voted for Obama because he was black? Well, that would be ridiculous. You don't vote for somebody because of their skin color. I voted for him because he was the best person available at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I disagreed with that, but
they made a point in the writing.
In the writing, what they made a point is you don't vote for somebody just because which it was a very conservative point.
It wasn't about identity politics.
Right. It wasn't about and so I went, all right, that's really good.
Well, because it shows a very thoughtful approach to and you say the word sitcom and it really sounds it's like many sitcoms don't have that thoughtful writing. The ones that do are the best. The ones that do are funny, and they'll always be funny years later when Gary McNamara gets around to finally watching it. and the reason is because, and when I say thoughtful, it's thought out in a way that applies and relates to whether they think the way a certain character does or doesn't. They relate because they've experienced that in their life in a way that the characters are relating to each other and talking to each other. That's something that not always the case. I mean, Seinfeld was an over the top. It's caricatures, but was it for New York City back then? Or maybe, I don't know, New York City now. I've never lived in New York City. But the idea is that funny is funny. And in this case, Last Man Standing, it was based on, kind of an everyday guy. He happens to be conservative. The wife isn't so conservative. They got some kids. They got some neighbors. Now let's have some fun. And
working at the store, the outdoor man. And,
right. And so.
And the young actor, well, they're not as young anymore, but all the young actors they were superb.
Yeah. Jay Leno was on the show.
Oh, Jay Leno was, when he was on there, I go, Jay Leno. And remember, this had happened 5 years or 6 years before by the time I watched it.
Right.
And Leno's on there. Did you ever see the one where they're, again, they're referencing their real careers? And talking about, that, and they're insulting each other. Mm-hmm. And it's just the best. But Leno was great in Last Man
Well, if you're doing a car restoration show, I don't know how you do that without having at least a cameo by Jay.
Oh, you would have to, yeah.
Given their relationship and that they work together on Last Man Standing, that's a must.
And what I like is the fact that they're bringing a lot of the people that work for Last Man Standing in. I hope, which means they attempt to keep that standard of writing up. But that's what I got from it. I went, it really wasn't about, even Roseanne, when it was, remember the thing, she's a Trump person, and all that. I'm like, okay, it got to be sort of contrived, I thought it did. But Last Man Standing, to me, I went, what's best about this is they're writing like real people talk and real people relate to each other, which is you harass the daylights on no topic is taboo. Race isn't taboo. Nothing's taboo. Him and his wife going back and forth, talking about as you get older and your body parts and stuff, inferring, insulting each other.
Right.
Let's put it this way. The gravity talk that they had. I mean, it's what real people do and tease each other, because what you end up doing in real life, the people that you harass and tease the most are the people that are actually the ones that you love.
And the point of a sitcom, because with the Roseanne thing, when it came back, what you saw was they were trying to apply some of the principles from the original Roseanne series, which is they had certain serious moments, right?
Right.
And that does happen. They call them dramedies, where and I think John Goodman was good in those moments. He's a great actor, I think.
Great actor.
And so, but you couldn't apply it there. And you said, it seemed contrived because with the second run of Roseanne, it looked like they were trying too hard in that regard to carry over that part of the original Roseanne and make it a dramedy in a way that was kind of grandstanding for a lot of those characters. And no one really, you don't tune in to a sitcom for that. If it doesn't feel natural, don't do it. It could be a serious moment, but if the audience isn't going to buy it, If it looks contrived, it ain't going to work.
And then my preconceived, when they said, Tim Allen, when this first came on, that and there's a conservative, there's a conservative, there's a conservative, I thought it was always going to be the conservative message was dominant.
Yeah.
Well, it might have been, but it was very subtle in doing it.
Right.
Because there were arguments they were having, constantly back and forth, and the teasing back and forth. And, some of the best jokes, I wish I could remember one, was Tim Allen going after his son-in-law, the character on Last Man Standing, going after his son-in-law who, married his daughter, who's from Canada. And it was just, the Canadian jokes were just great.
Well, that's it. When you have that, and that's it. We can all have fun at each other's expense to a certain point. I mean, you don't want to go in and tear somebody down. You're not looking for a moment of like a roast on TV, but you just have fun the way that we all relate when we're, whether it's within a family or with neighbors or whatever. My neighbor was out in his yard. It was the day after I got my brand new truck. So my son's out there, and my neighbor Greg says, "Hey, tell your dad I need to borrow the truck on Saturday." My brand new truck. And my son goes, "Well, okay." And then the next day I was like, I told Greg, I said, "Look, I would, but I've got ballerina lessons at 9.
Exactly. Well,
painting lessons at,
No, but that's how it was done. One of the greatest things was, his son-in-law.
Yeah.
A liberal Canadian is how they, basically portray him.
Yeah.
But when the father dies, and so the father, remember, had the pot shop.
Yeah.
Was it Bud's? It was called.
Yeah.
And so the son-in-law took over. Well, then he got into this thing of expanding it and having new products and hiring more people.
Yeah.
And Tim Allen telling him, "I need to do this," and I don't know. And he goes, you're becoming a capitalist now, huh?
Yeah.
Well, no. Actually, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. I just want to hire more people and invest more. That's capitalism. No,
Right.
no. And it was just great. I mean, it was
Right.
just awesome.
Right.
The way that they brought stuff
But
in.
sometimes we will have those moments when, with family and friends.
Yeah.
And you can have them, again, without it getting too heated. But it shows the conviction, but also shows, how we relate to each other. We've been talking about this for a long time. The left wants you to believe we're all at war with each other. That's not the case.
No, we're not.
There are people, there are
yeah.
radicals.
Yeah.
Radicals notwithstanding, because we pointed out after October 7th, there's the radicals, and on the other side, there's everybody else. Well, it's the overwhelming majority of our society on the other side. And we get along just fine.
But you're right. If it's going to be a car restoration shop, Jay Leno has to have.
Maybe
He's got to appear in it.
Maybe do a cameo.
So it was interesting. I didn't think ABC Disney would go to Tim Allen again.
Maybe they're realizing we need to put good TV back on the air.
Can we produce something that people actually want to watch?
Yeah. How about that? How about that as a plan?
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, the State of the Union tonight, this is going to be interesting because from what we are told, from what has leaked, it's supposed to be
a dumpster fire.
Well, the whole shrinkflation thing.
Yeah.
And
serious, no joke.
And bringing up corporate greed and all that, and I'm sure credit. He's going to stay away from everything, and he's going to blame inflation on corporations is what he's trying to do.
Who on the right is going to do the response? Do we know? Yeah. Not that anybody watches it or cares.
I saw a couple of weeks ago. I can't think of who it is. I just got mind blank on it.
Yeah.
Nobody really pays attention to the response. They never have. Well, I mean, the partisans will pay attention to the response, and we'll tell you what the response is, but most Americans don't. I just, you look at this because this is not a State of the Union address. It's a campaign speech.
Senator Katie Britt.
Yes. Yes, that's it. Most of these... most of the State of the Union's address, you're trying to toot your own horn. That's tough to do. So what I believe he's going to do is the blame game. Corporations are bad. People didn't buy it when he said inflation was caused by corporate greed.
Yeah,
remember
by gouging and
right, they've already tried that.
Yep, right.
So what they're trying to do is attempt to convince what they believe is the stupid, ignorant American public that shrinkflation is somehow different than inflation.
Yeah,
and they're exactly the same. There is no difference.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're against corporations giving you less for the same price, and you're angry about that, then you should be angry about companies charging you more for the same volume of product. Both are the same,
right?
And they're trying
it's inflation,
right? And they're trying to convince you that it's not.
It is when, and here's the other thing too. Many retailers, I know Walmart does it. And many are now doing it. When you look at it, you can see what the cost per the weight is,
right,
or per unit is. And it's not for every single product, and sometimes it's also not accurate. It's like cost per unit for this, is $9.78. Well, wait a minute. The price is $9.78. Oh, they're measuring the entire container as one unit. But you can see that. We're smart enough to shop. We know what's going on, and it's called inflation. And it's not gouging.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so we were just talking about the election coming up and Super Tuesday and the State of the Union address and what the president will say tonight. And we know, because this has been something that's been on his mind, it's not going to work. When they tried, as we mentioned earlier, when the administration tried to blame corporations for inflation, nobody bought it. And so what they decided to do is let's come up with something called shrinkflation, pretend it's not inflation, that it's something else, and we can blame the corporations for the size of potato chip packages.
Yep.
And you think about it, and then we had the entire insanity of the president talking about the Cookie Monster isn't happy about it, and just shaking our heads going, what in the hell are they doing?
Oh, my gosh.
But I don't know what else they're going to bring up. When you look at, again, because the State of the Union, if all he does is hit Trump at that point, it's going to be viewed as political.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to talk about what you plan on doing. One of the problems, and we said this yesterday, we've said this, I've never had anybody respond, ever. Tell me one view that Donald Trump holds on the issues that is radical.
Right.
One.
Right. Just one.
From when he was in office and what he did and what we know. Now, there are some things I don't know what he's going to do. But from what he did in his last administration on what issue, well, you're radical.
Right.
And then you say, okay, well, then can you tell me one issue that Biden was radical on? Well, yeah, the border. Lying about the border over and over again.
Energy.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, it's going to blow up. The airplane flights, you saw that one. 320,000 people have been flown into the country. Apparently, they do the app. They don't have to come to the border. But 320,000 have been flown in. They won't tell us what cities they've gone to. Nothing.
What did I say? I joked about it. Was it last week when they said, "Hey, we are going to keep people from crossing the border."
Right.
Well,
And you said it. Yes.
I said, "What are they going to do? Send them on a plane?" And the answer is yes. They are.
That's exactly what they did.
Now, that's technically still crossing the border, but I mean, if he's talking about the actual ground border, the southern border, well, sorry, we'll go around that. We'll get them on a plane. And they're not disclosing where the people are going.
The American people view that as being radical.
Yeah.
The president and the Democratic Party, even though the president didn't talk about it as much in the campaign, they were for to fund the police. Now you see the San Francisco Chronicle saying the city can no longer call themselves a progressive if they're going to be a law and order city.
Right.
If the criminal isn't in charge, that's what the San Francisco Chronicle is communicating.
Yeah.
That if the criminals aren't in charge, you can't call yourself a progressive.
Right.
Okay, try to sell that to the American public. You know, when you look at these issues across the board, we can run the grid on solar and wind. That's insanity. That's radical.
Right.
Getting rid of all fossil fuels. That's insanity. That's radical. The liberal transgender activist movement. That's radical. A man can be a woman because the man says so.
Yep.
No, they can't. Men must play sports against women. That's radical.
Yep.
That's radical. So it's easy. Critical race theory. All whites are culturally racist to the point where it might as well be part of their DNA, and we must set society up that all whites are racist. That's radical. Identity politics. That's radical. Lying about the Georgia election law. And now coming up and saying that voter ID is racist again after dropping it for a while because they were getting burned. Now the administration, the Attorney General Garland brought that up the other day when it's viewed as radical because it doesn't matter what demographic you are. It's like 75 to 80% of the people, irrespective of your demographic, believe that's a great idea.
Right.
Why? Well, at that point, you have more security.
Right.
Because you know who the people are that are voting.
Right.
Literally, you have more security, and the perception is you have more secure elections by doing it. That's radical. Oh, what was the? I gotta find it here. I got my buddy posted it yesterday. I was gonna put it on. It was one of the things that I'm gonna put on Twitter. I'm like, no, just like the guy misunderstood what we were saying yesterday about Trump. Completely.
Yeah, exactly. They would read it wrong.
They're like, oh, okay, they're going to read it wrong. I think I saved it because it was just, I think I saved it. Did I save it here? Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, I thought I saved it. Oh, gosh darn it. Because it was, oh, no, it wasn't it. Oh, man. Oh, Erica was so great. It was, oh, let me see more. No.
All right, we'll find it.
I'll find it because it was about the election. It was like keep Trump from cheating in the 2024 election.
Oh, yeah.
Support voter ID.
Right. Exactly. I love it.
That's what it was. It was keep Trump from cheating in 2024, and that's it's beautiful because liberals will look at it and go, oh.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Then the next
then
sentence,
they have to
support voter ID.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, we talked about with the whole thing of we talked about the chain of custody of ballots, voting ballots, and how loose it has been by our own standards. You know, you and I both have pretty strict standards when it comes to voting, but we said, to the left. Okay. Somebody shows up to transport the batch of ballots that your ballot is in, and they just happen to be wearing a MAGA cap. You okay with that? It's that reverse psychology. Okay, do you want, because there are too many steps in the equation, too many people in custody of that ballot before it gets to where it's supposed to be going. And we have a way to stop that.
Oh, no, here it is. Look, see all the people there?
Oh, yeah.
It says, don't let Trump cheat. Demand voter ID and paper ballots.
I love that. I love it. I love it. The remedy is a conservative remedy. I love that. Well, by the way, it's not conservative.
No.
It's a very basic, simple, easy to understand. By the way, the polls show this. The left uses this on voter ID. Well, they did on and off. Now, Senator Warnock in Georgia claims that he's never met anyone that's against, as a Democrat, never met anyone who's against voter ID. We think either he's not getting out much or he's not telling the truth.
He has never met another Democrat.
Yeah, he's never met another Democrat who's against voter ID. Yeah,
he's never met another Democrat.
He's never met anyone in his own party. Right. But it's a very simple equation, and when you do the polls, and by the way, also the results, the left tries to tell you, oh, look what it's going to do here, and then it backfires on them, and, oh, wow, turnout actually increased. Oh, wow, look, the people actually understand what voter ID is all about, and the ones you claimed were going to be victimized by it actually support it.
So, the election should be, if the Republicans and the Trump campaign want to win, should be on all those issues.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I wouldn't use, we said this yesterday, if you look at Trump where he stands on the issues when he was in office and what he actually put forth as legislation, and that's why we put that challenge out, tell us what is radical.
Right.
Tell us anything on an issue that is radical. You can't find it. Now, I wouldn't use the word centrist, but I would be running ads saying, Donald Trump believes what you believe.
Right.
And then I'd list these issues.
No, that's a great point.
You know, secure border.
Because we haven't seen that. And it should be America agrees with Donald Trump.
America agrees
on a
with
secure
Donald
border.
Trump.
America agrees with Donald Trump that we have to get on top of inflation and restoring your buying power. America agrees with Donald Trump that we should have put America first. In 2016, the Wall Street Journal, the day after the election, walked through Harlem. Why do you think Donald Trump won and Hillary did not? And there was a common thread in the answers, and it was, well, because Trump was focused on things here at home and she was focused on things in other parts of the world. Well, then, of course, it turned in with the liberal media. They can't have that. Oh, my gosh, he's a nationalist. He's a, they had to remember that. But you get down just on the issues.
You just reminded me of something, just very quickly. As I said, was it a couple of weeks ago when February 22nd, that week or that weekend, I watch a ton of stuff because February 22nd always will remain in my mind. That's when the U.S. Olympic hockey team beat the Soviets. And so I watched everything I could that weekend. Well, they had a telephone call that, a couple of days after, a couple of the players were on with Al Michaels. And so Coach Herb Brooks called in. And he said, did you expect this response? And he said, what I didn't expect was the nationalism that happened afterwards and how wonderful that was.
Right,
And I'm roaring laughing, going, could you imagine? Could you imagine anybody saying that? Like, for example, Greg Popovich, he could say that after a big win for San Antonio. I love the fans and the nationalism that happened after that.
Sure. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure he would. I'm sure if he did, it would come straight from his heart. Right. Uh-huh. Now, it depends on which nation you're talking about. Venezuela? Yes. Cuba? Okay, yeah.
But when you just said nationalism, that popped into my mind. I said, "Oh, I forgot to mention that how that's viewed, and and it's the whole thing. You look at the mistakes. Oh, you saw the Politico reporter. Remember, it's Christian nationalism. Well, what's Christian nationalism? And by the way, she apologized for it.
Yeah. Well,
but it's not, as we said the other day, it's not an apology.
What does it take for someone at Politico to have to apologize?
She said it numerous times.
We know what she actually believes.
That's what she believes. She believes that that Christian nationalism is the fact that you believe rights come from God, not from men.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But again, that shows you how radical. And I think that's, I would say, Donald Trump and the Republican Party stands where the American people, are. We don't stand with the radicals. I would pound that over and over and over again. And it's easy to do it because they've all said it in their own words. And this is an election where you can win this election if you stick to the issues and play the opposition just in their own words where they stand on the issues.
Right. Yeah.
And they should pound Biden he's going to do this shrinkflation thing. There's nothing else he has.
Right.
They're trying to make up, okay, let's call it shrinkflation, and then we can fool the idiots out there. They won't know that it's the same thing as inflation, but we'll tell them that their cookies are smaller. Oh, call the Cookie Monster. We got to get him on.
Because he's a big influence. Yeah. By the way, at a time when they're also trying to promote, no, inflation's down. It's way down. It's way down. It's one acknowledgement that it's not, the prices are still going up. And it's also acknowledgement that they can't win it. They know they can't win it. Otherwise, they're going to try and lob this thing across to, again, big bad corporations. It's not going to work.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. There it is. House passes $460 billion package of spending bills to avert government shutdown. And, you have a few people showing the disagreement with it, and they got one of the things that was removed from it. I think that was removed in the Senate was the thing for the that I think in the Senate bill was the one for BDSM parties.
Yeah.
And that, federal dollars for that. And so, but you notice the rhetoric from even the conservative members of the House is not as great as it was last fall. Why? We're too close to an election.
Yep.
They're not going to do austerity or shut down the government now.
Don't rock this boat.
Not going to do it because too close to an election. And they know the American public isn't there yet.
They'll fake their conviction on November 6th.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Just reading this here. Wow, this is just so great.
Yeah.
The headline, Senator Tom Cotton dunks on New York Times as paper reports Governor Hochul is sending troops to New York City to combat crime.
Yeah, she's sending 750 National Guardsmen from the state and 250 law enforcement officers. This is after Mayor Adams also increased the number of subway cops by 1,000 last month in order to start doing, and Mayor Adams said they're going to start doing bag checks again.
Oh, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
No. The point is Senator Tom Cotton,
yeah,
who wrote "Send in the Troops" a few years back because of all the crime going on in all the major cities.
Yeah, okay.
Some editors got fired for allowing that on, that op-ed piece in the New York Times. Remember that? Trump was saying the same thing, and people were going absolutely crazy. The left was going crazy about it. Has anybody from the left at all criticized Governor Hochul for sending the troops into New York City to combat crime?
Not on the left? No.
Nope. Haven't heard one.
Nope.
Cotton wrote yesterday, sending in the troops to help restore law and order. Cotton was overtly referring to his 2020 op-ed published by the Times titled "Send in the Troops," which made an argument in favor of the president deploying the military to quell the George Floyd riots that had sparked violence in cities across the country. Publication of the op-ed caused turmoil among the woke staff at the newspaper, with several editors being pushed out. Several other social media users took swipes at the New York Times over how Cotton's past suggestion is now being implemented by the Democratic Governor Hochul. And Democrats are completely silent. This is where we ask the question, at times, does the Democratic Party believe in anything except power? Because you see this. The president, for example, the longest time saying, we know what he did. Everybody knows what he did. Now, even the mainstream media, we played earlier, ABC reporting when they had the head of the DNC on, and they said, well, that Biden can solve this problem. Biden can put through these orders.
Yeah.
He can he can stop it, and they can't answer the question. But you massively open the border. Then you claim for a year and a half, or almost 2 years, over 2 years, that it's secure.
Right.
When everybody knows it's not. Why won't Democrats do things and not lie about it?
Right.
If you're doing it, why don't you say, yep, and we're going to let as many as we possibly can come in? The American public knows it. But in this case, they went crazy. You and I remember that. They went nuts.
Well,
when the suggestion of sending troops, National Guard troops, because you federalize them, they become, they become at that point American troops.
Right.
The left went crazy when that was suggested. Now, that was the president doing it. This is, again, the governor doing it, but it's still the same point.
It's the same effect.
It's the same effect,
outcome.
right.
Yeah. And I was waiting for when the mayor said they're going to increase the number of officers by 1,000 on subways last month. I thought, and we're going to start doing bag checks. I thought to myself,
yep,
wow, where's the left?
Yeah.
Where's the left?
Nothing.
More police? What?
Yeah.
This is also a very clear case of them going, New York City, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police, and then people don't feel safe in the subways. They don't feel safe in New York City anymore. The crime is skyrocketing. And you have to respond. Because combined, the city of New York and the state will have an additional 2,000 people that will be on the subways trying to make it safer, trying to make people feel safer. You can't, this was always going to result in this. Fewer cops, higher crime. Wow, I'm a genius.
Yeah. We had said back then, when reality catches up, and that's the thing. You can't deny reality of how human beings, it's really interesting. It's almost that it's the same thing as economics. The left believes that they can change economics. Yeah. They can manipulate the market, but you can't change economics.
Right.
And it's the same thing when we used to talk about when okay, they're going to raise the minimum wage. Well, you're going to have job losses because of it. Well, and you're going to have job losses or rising of prices or both. Well, no. Well, wait a minute. You're saying that you wish to raise the minimum wage because companies are greedy. And this is where the logic falls. Everybody can see through it. Even Democrats understand it.
Sure.
You raise the cost of doing business, then you're going to have the businesses either cut back, produce less of it because the price has gone up, which means people get laid off, or you raise prices, or you say, well, we're still going to produce the product, but we're going to sell less for the same price.
Well, that's
or you raise the shrinkflation, inflation, whatever. You're going to do it. That's just the reality. And it got to be comical because we would have people on the left call us up. No, they won't do it. Well, you're just saying that the corporations are greedy. If the corporations are greedy and you raise prices, then isn't the corporation going to, since they're greedy, that's what you're saying, they're greedy, that they're not going to raise prices?
Right. And that's it. And we pointed out along the way, and we were careful to use the words, to the point that the market will bear.
Right.
That's what brings on shrinkflation. Because what they look at the price point in any grocery setting, it's based on a number of things. The product, the volume within the product that's being sold, but it's also the the location of that particular store, what the price point is for the demographics that shop in that store. Are they going to buy this? Are they going to buy that? Or will they buy this product if it's priced here? And they know this. Okay, we've reached a point after now years of inflation where we see people cutting back. Well, what do we do about it? Well, the market's not going to bear the increased cost for the same volume, so you decrease the volume. And sorry, Cookie Monster, after 50 years on Sesame Street, maybe you should have learned some simple economics. If you weren't taught that, maybe your complaint should be with the people of Sesame Street, so-called educational programming. Reality is educational programming.
And that's why we stated that and this is what the Republicans should do if they wish to win the Senate back, keep the House, and get the executive branch, is just tell people the reality.
Yeah.
Because that's what that Democrats' biggest problem right now is not the Republican Party. It is reality.
Yep.
Reality at the border, reality of what causes inflation, reality that you can't run a grid on solar and wind, reality that people never wanted EVs.
The demand isn't there
in the mass market.
Right.
That's reality, and you can't. And they've always believed that they can change reality.
Yep.
And you can't.
No. Economics
Especially. And that's why I bring up the economics portion of it, because that's something that they've always, jumped on. That no, we can if we can regulate the economy to success.
Well, you saw
you can't.
You saw the thing from the Fed, Jerome Powell. Well, we still think there will be interest rates. Interest rates will drop, lower interest rates sometime this year, but not until we're convinced that inflation is truly on its way down. Well, yeah, because remember the analysts that were saying, "Oh no, we're thinking as early as March." Here we're in March. Well, maybe sometime this year.
And by the way, we said we can't make that call, and neither can they.
Neither can they, because the fact of the matter is that then you saw the number. We're watching the inflation numbers. You see it. Jerome Powell's never been serious about inflation. I've said that since the beginning, and I'm right on that. And I've been proven right by Jerome Powell. And you look at it now, and the reality hits, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, we're going to lower rates. Hold on, market. Just give us a minute. We're going to lower rates. I mean, we still have to make sure that, inflation is going to be under control. Well, they're not serious about it being under control. You didn't get to the point that you have to get to with such massive inflation. You have to slow the economy. And they weren't going to do that. They're not willing to do that. They weren't serious about inflation. And now we have higher interest rates and prices are still going up.
And still massive government spending.
Yep.
When we talked about the debt increasing the last, the last 3 times?
Mm-hmm.
They've had it's $100 trillion every 100 days.
Right.
Is what we're going, and they don't.
That's
really,
insane.
Yeah, they really don't seem. Nobody really seems concerned about
How
it
is
now.
that not? That should have been a 7-alarm fire of a story.
Easy, because we looked at what the national debt is compared to the other problems, and it's way down the list.
Yep.
Yeah, it's way
if
down.
We don't care.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't get to this point with us caring about it, does it? No.
No, it doesn't. It would never get to this point if it was truly a national obsession that we pay our bills now.
Right.
And we don't do the most immoral thing that we have done to our own children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and put what we want today on them without their approval. And as I've said, the one thing, the country, one of the major reasons this country was found was taxation without representation.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the major reasons that the Revolutionary War happened.
Yep.
And we as a society found a loophole to do the immoral thing, which is tax future generations without their approval, without any representation, because they're not even alive yet. Boy, what a loop. We talk about loopholes. You want a loophole on that?
Yeah.
There's a loophole.
Yeah.
We are absolutely against taxation without representation. We got an idea. And everybody, let's get aboard. Let's put it all on future generations who have no say on it whatsoever. And then for years, we sat here and people would go, you guys are making too much of it. Well, are we making too much of it that it's immoral to do so? Well, it's all part of it. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you can't address it, can you? And by the way, Republicans used to be vehement against it. They are no longer.
They're not. The party would be very, very different if they were.
Yeah. You have a small minority of the party.
Mm-hmm.
But as we said, with the $460 billion thing that went through the House, it's not as loud. Why? Because election time's right around the corner, and no party can be accused of wanting to cut anything from the budget, which the public believes we should balance the budget tomorrow by getting rid of foreign aid and wasteful spending. And that's the delusion that both Democrats and Republicans live in because they both believe that we can balance the budget. Majorities believe we can balance the budget by doing that, the polls show.
Yep.
And it's delusional.
It's not going to happen. And it's a cliff event. It's not a matter of if, it's just when.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. The State of the Union address will have the Republicans' pre-State of the Union address coming up here in following the bottom of the hour. Also, I'm reading here from the banking industry erupts over Biden administration's new rule on credit card late fees. By the way, is the president allowed to do that through executive order? I haven't seen anybody bring that up. Can the president set because basically that's a contract and a price set in a contract between banks and individuals that do business with the bank. Does the president have any authority through executive order? Congress could do it.
Congress could write the law and banking laws, yeah. But
does the president have any authority to? And I haven't heard anybody talk about that yet on the Republican side.
Well, I don't believe he does.
Neither do I.
Because if that's the case, then you could have any president coming in and saying, okay, you're just rewriting banking laws.
Oh, except, because this is the one thing I don't know, unless Congress specifically gave him the authority to do so.
Right.
That a president can, the
still
president
has to
can
go
do
through
that.
Congress either way. Right.
Right. It would have to, but Congress doing that means it went through Congress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the basis is. I didn't hear the basis or argument yesterday from them, and typically we do.
And banks are under federal regulation like other businesses are not.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see go through the different precedent on that. We regulate banks. Well, I understand you regulate banks differently than you would a somebody who opens up a mom and pop shop. Yeah. You'd be under state regulation there. And so states have minimum wage, so you can control prices there. How far can a state go? Because you're setting prices for companies if you're setting wages.
Oh, yeah.
If you can set, why is it? What is the, and I'm asking this as a question. I don't know, and I'm going to try to, it may take me a year to find this in the law somewhere. There are probably much greater, economic minds that have done this research already. Mm-hmm. But why, how far can you regulate in our country under the Constitution? How far can you regulate prices?
Well, in something like this, you do get into banking laws, basically.
Well, as I said, that's federal regulation, which is different than that's why I was bringing up the mom and pop shop.
Well, but also on federal minimum wage. I mean, if you went in, and of course that's not an executive order, but I mean, how many things could they do that affect business?
Yeah. Well, how much could Congress do?
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our app today, our Red Eye Radio app. Listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. All right. The pre-response to the State of the Union address from Republican Speaker Johnson yesterday. Here we go.
Tomorrow, the American people, as you know, are going to hear from President Biden about the State of the Union. And I've been asked many times, as many of us have, if you had to describe in one word what you believe the State of the Union is, you've heard the word crisis, you've heard catastrophe. I think maybe a summary is decline. And I say that with great sadness, we all do. But it's because of this president and his administration that we are indisputably in decline. Our economic strength is in decline. Everyday goods are more expensive. People can barely afford the cost of living now, their groceries and gasoline. Home ownership is increasingly out of reach. And U.S. household debt is at an all-time high. So our economic strength is in decline. American sovereignty is in decline. You've heard us lament the border. The southern border is a total catastrophe. There's no other way to describe that. Traffickers and cartels have taken operational control of the border. Fentanyl poisoning is killing our children. While President Biden opened the border with his reckless executive actions, and remember, we documented at least 64 actions that he and his agencies have taken to open that border wide. It was by design. In the midst of all that, we also learned last week he never one time spoke to the chief of the Border Patrol. It's unconscionable. Innocent Americans from Lake and Riley in Georgia to the 14-year-old rape victim of an illegal immigrant in our home state of Louisiana, as you just heard Leader Scalise talk about. They've all been victimized by those whom the Biden administration has released into our country. He is releasing them into your state. Every state's a border state. The safety of our cities is in decline. Carjackings are up. Attacks against law enforcement are rising. We have more than 600,000 known criminal aliens roaming the streets of America right now, free to reoffend and victimize Americans. The actual number is, of course, much higher. That's the official number that we know about. But we don't know how many people have come across the border. And some of us believe it may be as many as 15 million illegal aliens who have come across that border since Joe Biden walked into the Oval Office 3 years ago. America's presence on the world stage is in decline, and you heard us talk about that this morning as well. Iran, Russia, China, our adversaries are acting more provocatively than they have in many, many years, and we have unrest unlike we haven't seen since World War II. The president is turning his back right now on our greatest ally, Israel. And after Biden's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, our stature has been diminished to a point that is difficult to calculate. During his address, President Biden is going to try to suggest that the State of the Union is strong, and we expect, as was said, that he's going to say this is a time for a reset. But of course, the State of the Union is not strong, and everybody around the country knows it, and everybody in this room knows it. It doesn't matter what political party you're in, where you lean on the political spectrum. You look at objective facts, and you know this country is not in good shape because of its leadership in the White House. And that's why at this point in his term, President Biden is the least popular president in modern history. America is in decline, and nothing he says tomorrow night is going to change that. House Republicans, on the other hand, will continue to fight to hold Biden and his administration accountable.
There you go. I mean, that's basically going to be the response tomorrow, except they'll hit the specifics like shrinkflation and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
where he's trying to hide inflation and trying to, as we've stated before, shrinkflation is inflation. But Democrats believe the people that vote for them are idiots. They're ignorant. They don't know what's going on. And Biden believes he can sell. I won't say Biden believes, but his staff believes, who's writing all this, that they can convince the ignorant Democrats out there that shrinkflation is somehow different than inflation, which is caused by corporate greed. They tried to sell inflation as corporate greed, but they weren't successful at doing that. The American public saw through it. I don't think the American public is probably that ignorant where they can't figure out that there's no difference between inflation and shrinkflation. It's just two different ways that companies handle it.
Well, the hard-earned buck stops with this president, and when we talk about, and his party, when we talk about the entire equation with inflation and where it's been and where we are now, and the fact that your buying power isn't coming back, and this, it's the only thing they have. Go after big, bad corporations. You got to create some kind of evil villain nemesis that's working against you. And it doesn't work because everyone sees it for what it is. Everyone puts it at the feet of whoever is in office when it comes to inflation. It's not just the cost of a certain set of things or the cost of gasoline, the cost of energy. It's the cost of everything. That's what inflation is. And people, when you experience that, people go through this. There's no way to change that image. It's silly, and the way they handled it with Cookie Monster was just stupid. I told Alan, our producer, I said, it wouldn't surprise me to see up in the balcony Cookie Monster as one of the special guests of the president. If that happens, I'm telling you, if it happens, you heard it here first. But those,
well, if it happens,
we're done.
we're
having fun.
If we're bringing alcohol in tomorrow,
yeah.
If that happens, I need to drink on the air.
Yeah, because we're almost out now. So that's the. We'll have to bring it in. So, it's almost empty. But this is the problem. Is Elmo thinks I drink too much.
Oh, wait a minute.
Too much.
I know we're not allowed to smoke in here. Is vaping smoking?
Right.
Alcohol isn't strong enough. Hey. Like Jerry Brown said, everybody can't be high, but apparently everybody is.
As he was signing legalization into law. Hey.
If we can't beat them, can we join them?
You know what it was? It was kind of a moment like, oh, wait a minute. I just thought of something. We can't all be high. Wait, you guys know that, right?
Red Eye Radio, the last sober guys in the United States.
Exactly. And it's, it's, you have to be smoking some weed to come up with that Cookie Monster thing, by the way. Wow.
Well.
Oh, you know what?
It is the Munchies.
Yep, that's true.
It is the Munchies.
And
by the way, what kind of cookies is Cookie Monster eating?
I'll just say they're edible. And we just heard that they're going to be launching a new Tax Me Elmo. We're not sure if that's true, but that's what we heard. And these are the things you can't win. It's like when everybody's going over the inflation report, and we do the inflation report because we look at not just where we were, because it's always from the month prior. We look at where it's going and what will change that, and what the government is doing. So it's part of the complete equation and conversation. But the American people, they don't pay attention when the report comes out. They've already paid for it. They know what it was last month. They see it. The prices aren't going down. And they know why the packages are getting smaller, because there has been, this increase in, again, they have to, as these costs for them, the manufacturers increase, you have to increase your prices to the point the market will bear. And we reach that point, and the only thing to do there is then reduce the volume. And I don't know where it goes next, but the fact of the matter is, as we've been saying clearly, shrinkflation is inflation.
The other thing I got out of it, because I had played, this was audio that you and I were playing off the air. Mm-hmm. And I was playing it before, and I was just listening to Chip Roy, and he was talking about illegal immigration and the problems and everything else. And he was on the House floor talking about it, Chip Roy from Texas. Mm-hmm. And then Mike Johnson spoke. And I thought about this afterwards. And both were very, very, very coherent speeches, lining out details, this, and this.
Yeah.
Neither had teleprompters.
Nope.
That's what and I'm saying to myself, and I'm sure there's Democrat leaders that also can ad lib too, but that's what the American public is looking at when they look at Biden. They say, here is somebody who has that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, look at Chip Roy go. He's bringing up this. Mm-hmm. He's not looking at any teleprompter.
No.
Those
conviction.
are just
that's conviction.
Right. That's conviction. There's Mike Johnson. He knows what he's talking about.
Right.
They've got conviction, but they also have a brain that has full cognitive abilities where they can remember things and then regurgitate them back.
Right.
And that's what the American public expects. And then you've got Joe Biden.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting. I saw this yesterday, and I expect to see more of it today. What kind of drugs are they going to put Joe Biden on?
Why? It's so funny you say that. 24 hours ago, I'm thinking it. I didn't say it because I was thinking, actually, it would have been, and I was thinking it a couple of days ago too. And I thought, are they going to take him off of the road? Take him, basically, they always shut him away. And then it seems like when he makes that important appearance, something's changed. I don't know what kind of supplement they're using or whatever it is, but it just seems like there's this, he's like overcharged and kind of, he's not what you have seen. And I thought to myself, well, they got State of the Union. We know one thing. All presidents go through the rehearsal of State of the Union. They do it for a number of days. I don't know what that rehearsal looks like with him, but preparation. My question is, how do you prepare this president?
Or if he decides to go off the script for a little bit. And the reason, again, people look at it, it was the day after that you heard, because the mainstream media was reporting it, what we're getting from inside the campaign is Biden now is going to go after Trump, and he's going to go after him big time. And it's let Joe be Joe, and it's let Joe say the things that he wants. And the day after was when he picked up the microphone when he was with the business leaders, looked completely lost and said, I'm what do you say? I'm not supposed to take questions, or I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take questions, whatever.
I'll get in trouble. Yeah,
I'll get in trouble.
I would talk to you, but I'll get in trouble.
Get in trouble. And then he's just holding on. Then he just puts the microphone down and he's staring into space. I'm like, what are they talking about that he's going to articulate against Trump? He can't even say a sentence or two.
Yeah.
Without looking completely lost.
Right.
So you wonder, how can he get through the State of the Union? Now, Republicans are getting ready, to pounce on it. You saw that you've got Trump going to do play-by-play.
Yeah.
That's it. Has that ever happened before?
I don't know.
Do play-by-play of it, but the coverage is going to be huge on any guest. But if he gets up there and he looks wired and he's flawless, there's going to be a ton of questions. How can he do it there and not over here?
Right. Because we've seen that in the past, by the way. That's why we bring it up. That's why you and I were both wondering.
Right.
Now, I'm trying to think the last time that I can remember that they did it. I mean, my gosh, just days ago, he was on the world stage, and they decided handing him an ice cream cone was a good idea.
And you saw already with Karine Jean-Pierre, everybody's on, because Trump is going to be out there all the time saying, debate me. There's big issues. Debate me. You say I'm wrong. Debate me. And they can't answer that question because that's all ad lib. And what they're hoping is he can get through. If he can stick to the script, that he can get through the State of the Union is what they're hoping. But it's not going to matter if he does, because it's March.
Yep.
We're 8 months away.
Right.
Most of what he's going to have to do in any type of debate or question and answer or town hall is ad lib.
Yep.
He can't ad lib.
He can't.
And he's been having trouble reading off the teleprompter. And that's why the question came up. I saw it all over social media. If he's flawless, what kind of drugs do they have him on? What's the difference if he could do an hour State of the Union address, but he can't do 30 seconds ad lib in other more comfortable situations where he's on a couch or in a chair and it's warm and friendly? 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, more on the State of the Union and the new banking rules that the president wishes to put in. All coming up here in just a little bit. Oh, and you saw that Dick Durbin nixed the GOP effort to pass a bill detaining illegal immigrants charged with a violent crime.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, it's like you're on the wrong side of that.
You are.
You're just on the wrong side, Democrats, and they just don't learn.
Nope.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.